Welcome, listeners, to Choice FM on Nevis, RIZ Radio, of course, Kiss FM, and Freedom FM. And don't forget, today we have a new innovation. We are streaming this edition of Ask the Prime Minister. Remember, the number to call is 465-2555. That's 465-2555. Or you can email us at askthepm@zizonline.com. Prime Minister, welcome. Your opening statement.
Thank you, Erasmus, our Press Secretary. Good morning, and good morning it is indeed. Maybe we should call today's show Give Thanks with the Prime Minister, because I have listened to the Honourable Minister Nigel Carty's 2013 report on our Cape and CXC performance, and we do indeed have a lot to be grateful for. First of all, this year's results are better than any of the past 4 years. And secondly, although St. Kitts-Nevis is the smallest nation in the Caribbean, we are performing above the regional average in both mathematics and English, 15% higher in maths and 15% higher in English. That is a positive reflection on our students, our teachers, our parents, and our educational system. And we should all be very gratified by these results. I see also that physics and applied mathematics seem not to be among the most popular subjects in St. Kitts and Nevis. That, I think, we would find to be the case at most high schools anywhere on earth, apart from those schools that cater specifically and specially to science and math students. Nonetheless, teachers, parents, and members have to find ways to show our young people from an early age that even though these subjects may at first seem difficult, with practice and diligence they can become not only manageable, but indeed enjoyable. In addition, they are two subjects that can lead to great possibilities later on. So both at a governmental and at a private level, it is up to us to devise imaginative and appealing ways to get young people thinking along those lines. But again, as I've said, that type of encouragement has to begin early. Another point that Minister Carty made in his presentation that bears repeating is the fact that the government has invested a great deal of time and effort to increase the number of scholarships available to our young people. As a result, not only will our state scholar and the next best Cape student be awarded a scholarship, but so will our best performing student in nursing, in TVET, and in teacher education, all as a part of our own determination to ensure that hard work is rewarded and our young people have access to the type of educational opportunities that they crave. Indeed, as the Minister explained, there are also some 25 additional scholarships available to this country's young people, and so I invite interested students to contact the Ministry of Education and also to contact the Ministry of Human Resource Management Development for further information. Minister Carty has, of course, already announced the names of the students with the best Cape and CSEC results, but I too would like to extend to them my own special congratulations, and I know that everyone joins me in extending special words of congratulations to these outstanding Cape students. May I repeat them here? Julia Hobson, Kyla Farrell, Darius Frank, Aldine Isaac, Nikoyan Blackett, Joanne Lynch, Liviak Bradshaw, Bren Siap Skeet, Taman Martin, Imani Keynes, Kalis Farrell, and I want to say congratulations to all of you. And of course, equally heartfelt congratulations go out to the following fifth formers who produced such outstanding CSEC results as well. Christian Bryden, Tamalji Basu, Candice Green, Akila Moore, Zoe Quinlan, Alaric Pennyfeather, Zonique Brown, Shadrana Bass, Tyler Martin, Omari Daniel, Arnil Francis, Adani Nisbet, Samuel Hancock, Hanif Charles, Hassani MacDonald, Chavez Lawrence, Blestina Charles, Taya Fleming, Nikolai Williams, Dudunath Sajru, Jazian Bolas, Kishanta Reed. I want to say warmest congratulations to all of our exceptionally high performers in the fifth form. And as I said last week, many of our people, I believe, they are showing overwhelming emotion at this. And all other times of triumph, I believe they do display a deep sense of gratitude for your many blessings, young people. To all our students of all ages, may you lead lives defined by gratitude for your blessings as well. And may our guiding characteristics throughout your life forever be perseverance, faith, optimism. Perseverance, faith, and optimism. And now I must unfortunately address a matter that is not quite as inspiring. In recent months, a range of important, indeed far-reaching measures have been brought before our nation's parliament. Because parliamentarians are elected or nominated to, one, show up in parliament, two, to analyze and critique the measures being proposed, and three, to explain to the nation their reasons for supporting or opposing the said measures. I had always assumed that all parliamentarians would deem their being present in parliament and participating an utmost priority. Recent sittings of parliament have established that there are those parliamentarians who feel no such obligation. However, as a result, it has been the government side and the government side alone that has been doing all of the work, providing all of the analysis, outlining all of the justifications and specifying all of the implications of the various legislative measures that have been brought to Parliament in order to address our nation's business. These members were not meeting their parliamentary responsibilities, I had been told, and as a result of their refusal to be in any way associated with what they like to refer to as an illegitimate government. Imagine then my horror, therefore, at the pouting and whining from the opposition parliamentarians, because according to them, they had not been allowed to participate in President Ma's visit. Was this visit not being arranged by the same government they had claimed to be illegitimate? Beyond that, however, the leader of the opposition had been invited by the government to participate in these events in honor of President Ma of the Republic of China and Taiwan. And the Premier of Nevis was also most present. Not only as I received and greeted President Ma upon his arrival at the airport in my capacity as Prime Minister, but at the official luncheon, the state dinner, and so on as well. How telling that the most senior member of the opposition, the Honourable Premier of Nevis, being present and participating fully during the visit was not enough for them, these great neglectors of the people's business. They who refuse to come to Parliament when our deliberations urgently need their involvement, groused that they wanted to be at the state visit instead. This everyone should find quite disturbing. Because you see, parliamentarians whose boycott of a government can be abandoned on the simple hope of attending a state dinner are not ready for the serious and the trying demands of leadership. Because, let there be no doubt, their participation in the President of Taiwan's state visit would have required precisely the type of involvement with the government that they have supposedly been avoiding. Responsibility, or I should say responsible governance, demands calm conviction and a very deep sense of character, which these persons clearly lack. Too excited by pomp and ceremony, the need instead to develop a commitment to hard work. And lacking both social and political judgment, they cannot be trusted to either identify our nation's best interest or to protect them. And on the subject of our nation's interest, I have made it a leading priority of my government to facilitate the free expression of ideas in St. Kitts-Nevis and the expansion and the flowering of the media. There are two individuals in this country who are displeased with comments I am reported to have made about them from the political platform, and so have decided, as they say, to sue me. That's quite fine. What is far more intriguing, however, is the fact that only one radio station in the Federation has reported receiving letters from these individuals' lawyers as a result of that station having aired my alleged comments. If this is indeed the case, we must ask why. What makes this one radio station so deserving of this sledgehammer reaction and grave attention? Time, dear listeners, will tell. And while we await that answer, what we do know is that this government continues, undeterred, to find ways to ensure that the working class becomes middle class, that the middle class become wealthy, and the wealthy even better positioned to provide employment and other opportunities in this our blessed and progressive federation. Last week, for example, I explained how the Sugar Industry Diversification Foundation was providing crucial support to small businessmen and women, in keeping with commitment to significantly strengthen entrepreneurship in this country. This week I will share with you a vastly different example as a means of underscoring the fact that in true labor spirit, we do not discriminate. We help the large and we help the small and everything in between the large and the small. And that is because my government knows that each individual or organization that we strengthen, we make the Federation stronger as well. That is why we were so pleased to provide a $5 million loan to TDC's Ocean Terrace Inn, one of the oldest locally owned hotels in the Federation. And we were equally gratified to have TDC report that funding from the SIDF has enabled TDC's finance company, Finco, to make even more loans than it otherwise would have been able to. And we were pleased to do this because, regardless of size or any other consideration, this government sees as its bounden duty the following. One, that everyone having a chance for upward mobility, and two, the ongoing crafting of policies that make it possible for local interests to ever innovate and grow. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before I will end this first opening statement, I would like to give some congratulatory remarks. I want to congratulate in particular the Connery Football Club on winning the St. Kitts-Nevis Football Association Premier League on Wednesday night. I must confess that on Wednesday I had to eat humble pie because I was determined that my own team in St. Paul's would have brought home the cup, the victory yet again. And I am not really a betting man normally, but I must say to you that I lost a bet to Dr. Drew, because Dr. Drew and myself had an understanding that whichever team wins, if it was mine in St. Paul's, he would deliver. And if, by chance, it was Connery, I would have to deliver and cough up, as they say. Dr. Drew, I will cough up to you and Connery. Thank you. May we now open our lines and have the reaction of our people to our morning's conversation. Please feel free to raise a completely new matter, whatever is of greatest importance to you, our listeners. The lines are now open by the best, I would say, in recent times, GQ himself. Let's open the lines, GQ, and let us move on.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Prime Minister Dr. Denzel L. Douglas. As we go to the phone lines, just a reminder, the number to call is 465-2555. That's 465-2555. Or you can email us at askthepm@zizonline.com. We take our first call. Good morning. Ask the PM.
Good morning, the Right Honourable Prime Minister and Mr. Williams.
Good morning, sir.
In years gone by, I used to be an opening bat. And it's such a great feeling to be opening the baton and ask the Prime Minister. Mr. PM, a night in last week, a handful of political activists left the building and went down to Church Street in front of Government House. They say to sing and pray. In part of their prayer, Mr. Prime Minister, it was for you to go to sleep and don't wake up. I don't know if you heard about it. It is for you to go to sleep and don't wake up. Also hoping that the military routine patrol can pass to take pictures and to put out on the net. The patrol passed in the area, and that is exactly what they did, in spite of the patrol being very friendly to them by waving out to them. They, however, still post the picture and sent letters to a long list of countries, Mr. Prime Minister, saying they had a peaceful protest in front of government headquarters after midnight, and a truckload of soldiers arrived on the scene to intimidate them with assault weapons. Mr. PM, the platform and pulpit speaker, she said so. Imagine she saw no weapons, but she put out assault weapons. Well, people is now wondering, sir, if she recently saw some assault weapons that was shown and introduced to her and her group by her partners in political crime. Mr. PM, this prayer thing is a deception plan. For some other ulterior motives, the main leaders and organizers of this group, sir, using all kind of ways to accomplish the objective. They are all political activists, sir, using the church, radio, platform, and others to achieve an objective. People praying and singing with evil intentions, sir, in front of government headquarters. Their prayers will not be answered by God. The people who walk around Jericho walls were chosen by God. Those people who say they walk around the Jericho headquarters wall, because that's what they put it on the net, are all false prophets, sir, sent by the devil to do evil. So God will not answer their pleas. And I'm certain, sir, you, a godly man, will know that God says, be aware of false prophets. Mr. PM, a caller called in, and I want you to listen to this carefully, on your program last week and asked you about same-sex marriage. And you were on the ball with your answer. However, a certain preacher while preaching on Sunday tried to spin what you said. as if to say, you're going to pass the law. What I understood you to tell the caller, that it was not for the legislator alone, but for the churches as well and the other civic groups to discuss such a matter. Mr. PM, you should know as well, because I am certain you go to church more often than me, and I believe you might know the Bible a little more. But Sodom and Gomorrah was a city with only one family that lived the life God wanted, and that was Lot and his family. Lot was a righteous man. He was very kind to others. One evening, 2 young men went to Lot's house to warn him. He allowed them in, knowing how the people lived there, and not knowing they were angels. Not long after, a crowd of people went to the house, breaking down the doors, demanding that Lot hand over these men to them. Lot refused. Lot opened the door and told them, I would rather give you my daughters. But they said no. At this time, the 2 angels came out, raised their hands, and caused a few of them to lose their sight. I'm certain that you know about that. The angels told Lot and his family to leave the city, for God is going to destroy the city. He told them not to look back, but Lot's wife looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. Finally, so, this is a little off my theme, but it is important that I tell you. Finally, so, Pam ceremoniously threw out 5 wise men out of 8 in their party, because they honestly spoke out against corruption, stink to the high heavens by their leader and party. These men did nothing wrong. Listen to this now. On the other hand, Pam embraced 2 out of 10 in labor, who is out there now with Pam, just because they could not accomplish their power plans while in labor with you. It cannot be fair, sir, to say that they were accepted because they saw 2 MPs who may have been compatible to them. They were accepted because they saw 2 MPs that may be compatible to them. And I believe that is why they left, they gone over into corruption that is stink to the high heavens. Thank you for your time, Mr. Prime Minister.
I want to thank our first caller for his comments and also, of course, his questions. Why would women assemble in the dead of night in front of government headquarters and praying to God for my destruction? I don't know why. That's what the caller is asking. I don't know why. But one thing I am saying is that God is a merciful God. And the God who is prayed to bring about destruction of people, of individuals, of countries, the same God can be prayed to save the lives of these people and to prevent destruction of these countries. So I am not disturbed, because God is the God of the righteous. He's also the God of the sinner. I really would never understand why women would leave their homes in the dead of night, assemble in front of government headquarters, and pray for the destruction of the leaders of our country. That is something that fails my own comprehension. On the matter of the same-sex marriage, there's no need for any pastor to misinterpret or misdirect what I said. I was very, very clear. A caller asked me about same-sex marriage, whether that kind of legislation would be supported in St. Kitts-Nevis. And my own personal remark and remark on behalf of the government and the people of this country is that this is not a matter only for legislators. This is a matter for the people of St. Kitts-Nevis to determine. Given our own cultural background and habits, our religious rights and beliefs that we have pursued over the years, it becomes therefore a matter for open, full, and honest discussion among the stakeholders of our country. The church being one of those. The social activist groups also being another group. It must be debated among people who confess to be gays, homosexuals, lesbians, etc. It is for a matter of discussion by the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, as, of course, it will be a matter of discussion for the people of the region. I went on to say, and I say it again, that there are some laws remaining on our law books and on the law books of the peoples of the Caribbean in various countries. A lot of these laws, like the burglary laws, etc., they tend to perpetuate people who may be suffering from HIV/AIDS to go underground because they are discriminated and they are stigmatized. And I also said that the time has come for us in St. Kitts and Nevis and in the Caribbean to start the debate and the discussion on how these very serious human rights issues can be tackled by the people of our country, not just the legislators, not just government ministers, not just general legislators in parliament, but the people generally of our country. These are issues which will continue to confront us and which we will have to discuss and debate and arrive at a position in moving forward on these issues. These are serious modern social issues that confront us today. The question of why would a PAM party expel 5 members who had contested elections on their behalf? Why would the PAM hierarchy, the PAM membership, led by Lindsey Grant at that time, expel 5 members from their party because they spoke out about corrupt practices by Lindsey Grant? And they referred specifically, of course, to the bribery scandal which Lindsey Grant was involved in. These were 5 of the 8 candidates in the last election. 5 of them being expelled because they questioned Lindsey Grant, having been caught on a tape arranging to take a bribe from a foreign white so-called investor, where it was being arranged on that tape that he would sell lands in the Brotherson's estate area at a much reduced price than what was of the market value. And the difference between what he was going to sell for and the market value was going to be placed into his personal bank account, an offshore account. This is what Lindsey Grant arranged on a tape, caught on a tape, in some hotel. He said it was at the Marriott. I don't know, but he said so. It was at the Marriott. And after the gentlemen, 5 of them, questioned him about this and accused him of being corrupt, he had these men dismissed from the PAM party. Today, I believe that's why the PAM party is in such deplorable state, where they have to be arranging all kinds of schemes and shenanigans in order to get enough people, as they say, to form a government. And so to our caller, I would never understand why Lindsey Grant would do anything of this kind, except that he was, of course, a corrupt person involved in a corrupt arrangement to sell government lands and to take a personal bribe in the selling of those lands which did not belong to him, but to the people of St. Kitts-Nevis. Let's move on.
As we go back to the phone lines, remember the number to call is 465-2555. Good morning. Ask the PM.
Good morning, Erasmus.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. This is Glenville Mills. How are you today?
I am fine.
Well, thank God for life. Permit me, before I go to the meat of what I want to talk about, to read a scripture to you to encourage you. It is taken from the book of Psalms, Psalms 34, verse 19. It said, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord deliver him out of them all." Let me encourage you that God has delivered you and continue to deliver you. Now, Mr. Prime Minister, over the weekend gone, I had to go to Nevis for a funeral. And being at Nevis, I was able to visit the cherry garden area. And I was told that you assisted the farm administration up there with some lovely homes, which shows that you are a government of inclusion. You never left out Nevis in nothing. You build home in St. Kitts and you build homes in Nevis. And it comes to me like the homes in Nevis are better than those in St. Kitts. I don't know if you're going to get jealous and do better for St. Kitts. But I'm saying to you, the homes that I saw at Cherry Garden, I happened to stay in one of them, and they are extremely bigger and better. Let me move on. I also heard that in the present administration, at their first or second term, I heard someone told me you also assisted them with the Vance administration with funds for roads. I don't know how true that is. But, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to encourage you to continue to show statesmanship. Not only looking after the interests of the people of St. Kitts, but you're looking after the interests of the people of Nevis. Because I spoke to a number of people. I had 2 days over there, Saturday and Friday, and a number of them is saying to me that they don't believe that there are anyone who could fill that void right now. They think that we have to put the petty politics aside and look up and respect and prefer Dr. Douglas because he is leading with distinction and he's not leaving him out. And before I go, I happen to go to Rodney Bar and Restaurant, and I'm telling you, this lady has treated me wonderful. And Mr. Prime Minister, she said to tell me to greet you. And let me say to you, continue to be strong and continue to do good. God bless you.
I want to thank our caller and to say to him that the federal government has always responded positively to its responsibilities when requested to be demonstrated with regard to the sister island of Nevis and the Nevis Island administration in particular. I am one of those who believe that we are one people in one country, being born and maybe settled and living on 2 different islands, but we have a common destiny as we've had a common ancestry. My responsibility as the leader of the federal government is to look after the interest of all of the people of our federation, despite the constitutional responsibilities that are being provided to the Nevis Island administration with regard to the interests of the people of Nevis specifically. I have responded positively at all times, whenever I have been requested so to do. There seemed to have been some tension, if I were to describe it as that, growing and brewing between St. Kitts and Nevis as a federal government and the Nevis Island administration. I've enjoyed, as I said before, a very practical successful working relationship in the past with the two administrations. The one led by CCM initially and led by the NRP and now led by the CCM again. I see no reason for us not to be able to enjoy that kind of symbiotic relationship that we've had in the past. Of course, I believe that a lot of political maneuverings in recent times have surfaced because, as the leader of the NIA has indicated, he feels very strongly that he is more in support of the PAM opposition than of the federal government under the Labour Party. I have no problem with that because people have their own choice to their politics and the political party that they would support. However, I believe that we have a responsibility as the leaders of the two governments to work collaboratively and closely with each other. Despite the attempt by the combined opposition, including the CCM, to bring the life of the federal government under Labour to an end, despite that, I continue to discharge our responsibilities as the federal government where it concerns the Nevis Island administration. I will, however, be mindful of what the reality of the facts are. However, I will continue to do my best to ensure that the people, the interests of the people of Nevis, where the federal government is concerned, that that interest is being looked after. As one who clearly understands what the responsibilities of the Prime Minister in a federal structure, what the constitutional responsibilities are. And so I believe, caller, that we would be able to continue to enjoy a relationship that will only bring benefits to the people of St. Kitts and the people of Nevis and together. I too have always been very much treated with kindness and with hospitality by Rodney. I recommend her and her services and the restaurant services that she provides. I recommend them to the entire world. Thank you, caller. Let's move on.
As we go back to the phone lines and we welcome our next caller. Good morning. Ask the PM.
Hey, good morning, Mr. PM.
Good morning.
And good morning, Erasmus.
Good morning.
Well, I see we got a licking. I was back in St. Paul because the Freemans down there are my close relatives. Maybe you don't know.
I see.
Maybe you don't know. All those Freemans down there are I don't know them. So
a lot of people claim St. Paul's these days, you know, so welcome.
This ain't no claim. This is blood.
I see.
And you owe hunks. I noticed you skip out hunks and gone to you.
No, I did. No, I did greet hunks. I borrowed his handkerchief on Wednesday.
Oh, and you cried your heart out.
I cried my heart.
You see yellow beat red boy.
Yellow beat red? Never. You're mixing it up, you know.
Yellow gave red a trouncing.
Don't forget, you know, Jew is red.
Yellow gave red. Maybe Jew is yellow. Maybe by heart, you know, everybody belongs to everybody now, so maybe Jew is a yellow. No,
I love that.
Some question, no. So you see, you got a PAM. But you know, everybody got one. We got some of you one, you got some of you one.
Yes, that's what you think. Let's move on.
You know, anyway. Now let's get to education.
Yes.
I heard you congratulating, and I too congratulate the students who did very well. I guess you also heard the comments of, I think it's Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And I was commenting on it Saturday about our people.
Dr. Daly, you mean the new president?
Daly. Yes. That said, we have a lot of catching up to do in terms of post-secondary. And I was encouraging our people to pursue post-secondary education. Because we only have like 12%.
Yes.
You know, and because I want you to join it. And then we get to the issue of our people being able to, and the performance after you pass the first top students, the percentage down below, who are capable and able to register or qualify for CFBC becomes a concern. Now, what of the laptop program? I know that it has gone off the radar. School has reopened. You have a new set of students going into high school, and I have not heard anything about these students getting their laptops. So what of that program? That's one.
Right.
In terms of self, I don't know if you're aware that they have changed the books, the curriculum, the books rather. And it is quite a burden on parents in that more and more parents now have to buy books. Somebody must be telling you or keeping you up to date. In the primary schools, the readers have changed, and so parents have to buy them. And I'm telling you because I am now raising 2 grandchildren, so nobody tell me I am raising grandchildren. Now, so what are you doing about self? Because the books, I went to a meeting, a parent-teachers meeting at a school, at the high school. I was told that the books are obsolete and in great disrepair. Do you have any information? Have you done anything? When I mean the Minister of Education, in replenishing the stock? Because it shows up in our performance. So while we boast of the children at the top doing better, the children of the poor people are struggling. And what do you have to say about that? Now, the issue of, you made some promises or some comments about civil servants getting some sort of benefits, increments, or saying, I want the matter clarified, because I put the question to Mr. Edinburgh, and he said, I must ask you, are they going to get the increments? Are they going to get back pay? Are they going to get salary increase? That is the question first. And how would that impact your commitment to the IMF to keep down, to contain the wage bill? You have it?
Yes.
So those are my questions. And so I want to know, because you see, we keep boasting about our education system, and the majority of the children are not doing well.
Okay, caller, you continue to repeat yourself. Let the Prime Minister answer now. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank our caller for really asking some really interesting questions, and I want to commend her for this. The comments, observations being made by Dr. Daly, and a position that we have always recognized and which we've been working on for some time, is that our desire to have more of our secondary school students advance into the tertiary level education streams, that we need to get more of that happening. We made that observation several years that we need to have more college graduates rather than secondary school graduates. We believe that the nation will progress, we will be able to become much more competitive in comparison and in doing business with the rest of the world if we were to advance a larger percentage of our secondary school graduates into tertiary level education systems. That is the goal of this administration. That is why it is so important that we continue to search far and wide for opportunities in colleges and universities around the world. That is why we have a very aggressive policy of seeking new areas for scholarships. And that is why over the last few weeks, our students have become so alarmed with the comments that have been made by Dr. Harris, when it would appear as if from his statements being made on the political platform about the policy of what would be, as he said, a PLP-PAM coalition government, it appeared to people that he would curtail our students from going into Cuba to pursue tertiary level education, which is the cherished goal, I believe, of this government and the ambition of every successful child who would have graduated from high school. And so that's why it is so dangerous for us to put people who do not understand what is the collective responsibility and the cherished priorities of our government with regard to education. And over the last few weeks, fear has stalked our lands in the minds of our students who are ambitious and want to go off to study. And they're asking the government whether the scholarships for Cuba will come to an end. And we have said no. In fact, today I will be working on the present list of students who would be going off to Cuba to pursue tertiary level training as scholars of St. Kitts-Nevis in a cherished bilateral relationship between Cuba and the Federation of St. Kitts-Nevis. So we subscribe to that fact that, yes, we need to have more of our secondary school students advance into tertiary level institutions for training and for learning. And this government, this Labour government, will leave no stone unturned in order to find additional places around the world, in institutions around the world, for our students to acquire tertiary level education. The laptop program, that continues. We've had some delay in providing the laptop for the last school year. We have decided that this program, however, would be resumed. We were a bit late, a bit delayed. However, everything is now in place for this program to continue, and the students who did not have the opportunity when they went into high school will now have that opportunity to get the laptop program going in September of this year. In fact, we are now looking at how we can even provide for those who are in the 6th grade, because we recognize that it is in the 6th grade that a lot of the research that they need to do would have started. And so we are looking as to how we can provide this program for our primary school students as well. Some countries have done it, and some countries have gone to the primary school and not on the secondary school. We chose to start at the secondary school level and possibly get down to the primary school level eventually as well. So this is something that we intend to do. The self program and the self books, that they have become obsolete, and so those at the primary and secondary school levels have had to have new books, and it is at the expense of the parents. This is something, of course, that concerns us gravely, and I am sure that the Minister of Education, as astute and as active and energetic and understanding that he is of the issues of the day, I give him credit in knowing that if this is a problem, it will be tackled, and it will be tackled in good time. I want to say that the Honorable Minister, Nigel Carty, shares all of the sensitivities, all of the concerns that you, our caller, and parents and guardians share. He not only has been an educator all his life until he got into government, but he himself is a parent. He comes from humble background. He understands what it means for a child who is unable to purchase the materials for his education, what that means to the child. And that is why I believe that I have confidence in him that he will respond appropriately to this problem if it is really a problem. I was not aware of it, but I am sure that the minister must be aware of it, and I'm sure it is being tackled, just as he has stood up to tackle the very many issues that confronted the infrastructure, that is the schools, the state of the buildings, the labs, etc., a lot of problems that we experienced last year. In fact, he announced that over $5 million alone have been invested in the Bastia High School in order to renovate it and bring it back to the standard that it should be. And I want to commend, therefore, the teachers. I want to commend the parents and their guardians for their patience and understanding as we now move solidly together to ensure that school reopens and these facilities will now be reopened for the benefit of our children's learning. We know that there are some who have political games to play and will seek to delay the opening of the schools and the use of these schools. But I believe that the parents in particular are tired of this politicking on behalf of some people. And I believe, therefore, that we should get on with the work of ensuring that the learning of our children is facilitated and recognizing that Rome was not built in a day, neither do we live in a perfect world. We all have to make adjustments accordingly from time to time. So I cherish the minister, I credit the minister with the understanding, the sensitivity and appreciation of the issues, and I'm sure that where is necessary, he will seek the support of his cabinet colleagues to get these problems resolved. I want to say that with regard to the public servants and the increments and the back pay and the salary increases, I have made it very, very public that the economy is on recovery. I understand that Dr. Harris made some reference last week that we are failing in our quest to return the economy to a state of stability, and seem to have been making some references to statistics that the central bank used and ignored the statistics that have been used by the IMF, whose assessment came after that of the central bank. And so I want to make it clear that Harris is out there singing for his supper. Ignore Harris. The facts are as they are. The last assessment of the economy was done by the IMF. We've passed the necessary assessments. The economy is on recovery, and it is because the economy is said to be on recovery why I believe that the time has come for us to begin to look at the conditions of service of our public servants. We had withheld incremental increases for a period of time. We have written into the agreement with the IMF that this should take a particular time period, and we continue to monitor and look at this. We believe that the salary increases as well, that should be the salaries that should be reviewed from time to time. This is a good time to review them. And at the appropriate time, therefore, the government will make the necessary announcements to indicate where we are on some of these issues. The increments, the salary review with regard to salary increases for public servants, those who are serving and those who have served as our pensioners. We also made mention that the government wages are relatively low. The $3.20, which is the minimum wage, we consider that to be relatively low considering what we've been through. And as things continue to improve, the government is fully determined to ensure that the benefits of these improvements come back to the people, not only those who are working as public servants, but those also in the general and consuming community, because we will have to look at certain areas and see how we can bring relief to the citizens of this country as consumers. The electricity in particular has been an issue. We are going to resolve that. We have done a lot with regard to subsidizing through the SIDF those who conserve the use of electricity. We believe that we should compensate you for conserving. We should reward you for conserving. And we believe that this should be targeted. We continue to look at the basket of essential items, especially food items, medicines, and essential hygienic supplies. These are critical items that form the normal basket. And I want to commend the Ministry of Trade in our government, led by our minister, of course, for constantly reviewing this basket so that we can bring relief to the consumers who use the basket of goods on a daily basis. This is a caring government, a government that understands what poverty is and understands our own mandate and our dedication, history of our party in bringing relief as much as possible to the poor. And as I said in my opening statement, how we can eradicate poverty, how we can bring job opportunities to the poor so that they can elevate themselves as working class people, and how those of the working class through education and through skills can advance themselves to become in the middle class bracket, middle income bracket, and those who want to aspire, of course, can aspire beyond. This is the cherished mandate of this government, and we take our mandate very, very seriously. So at the appropriate time, caller, we will make the appropriate announcements with regard to the increments, with regard to the wages, with regard to continuing to ask several friendly agencies of the government to assist our consuming public with regard to essential utilities that we continue to consume. Thank you.
You're listening to another edition of Ask the Prime Minister as we go back to the phone lines and we say good morning to our next caller.
Good morning, Rasmus.
Good morning.
Good morning, PM. How are you this morning?
I am fine.
Glad to know you are fine. PM, I just want to tell you, John 3:16 says, "For God so loved this world that he gave his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." PM, I know you are a man of God, and I know you believe in God. Just continue pray. Whoever they want to do, they cannot do you nothing. They cannot harm you because God is with you and God is on your side. Also, PM, I want you to commit me to send sympathy greetings to Lennox Warner and his family back there in Sandy Point for the passing of his brother, and also to the Romley family, and tell them God is on their side and look to God for strength. He will deliver them out of whatever struggle they are going through. PM, I was listening to John L. Powell, I think it was last night. I was listening to the rebroadcast that he had on Freedom FM. And he was saying, like, he said what Timothy said about Cuba, it was hot smoke. It was hot smoke, and it was not relevant. That means he disregarding what he said. But fact remains, he said it, and he didn't say it like a hot smoke. Timothy said it with a meaning. He said it with a meaning. And also, he's saying he's not going back into Douglas politics, and he's not going back into Simmons politics. He's a new breed of young people. Yes, it's young people, but they still got the old tactics of the PAM party. They still have the old tactics of the old party. And also, PM, I was listening. I want to ask you this question. If any civil servant get on the ear and talk politics, like hearing the views, is a crime, is a punishment of them losing the job because of that? Do they have permitted to go on the ear and talk the views? Because Terry called in the other night when Valencia them was on the ear, and he's telling them, "Oh, you are a civil servant. You are not supposed to get on the ear and talk about the government, campaigning, because if the another government get in party, if they could be trusted." Why are Terry trying to buffle these kids because they're talking out? Why don't he try to buffle me or buffle somebody else that know the politics and hear the views when they could hear the views? Terry needs to leave these kids alone. And also, PM, I want to tell you, I need to do something for Constituency 5, but anyhow, I'm going to say to you, I need to get some stuff to Constituency 5 for the Constituency 5 because, that is my constituency. Yeah. And I need to donate certain stuff to them. And I need Narjan to get in touch with me. If you could have him call me, give him my number and have him call me. I need to print some shirts for the executive body of the Labour Party. Yeah. And I need to get certain things done. And if he could get to me and that I could ask him certain questions and ask him what do I do from there, I will be appreciated, PM. And also, you take care of yourself, and I want to say may God continue bless you. I can't even, I pray so much for your PM that I don't even know what to say to you this morning about that. But you just ask God for faith. Just keep on asking God for faith and let God guide. And I know He's guiding you in the right direction. PM, have a wonderful day. May God continue bless you. I love you. Rasmus, have a good day. And also to Jekyll back there, you all have a wonderful day. May God continue blessing the Federation. PM, I love you again. You have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you very much, and you too have a wonderful day. I want to respond to the question that has been posed by the caller. Before I do that, however, I want to thank her for the scripture reference, John 3:16. I do understand the importance of those words, and I live by them myself. I also want to join our caller and express sympathy to Lennox Warner and family on the passing of his brother-in-law, I believe. I too would like to use this opportunity to do that as my own words of condolences and sympathy to the family in Sandy Point, and to express on behalf of the government and the party that I lead our sympathies to the grieving families. Caller is asking, why would John L. Powell say that the statement made by Timothy Harris, where he denigrated, I would say, the name of President Fidel Castro and seemed to speak of Castro in very derogatory ways. Why would John L. think that this is just a smokescreen regarding the reaction of the people to Dr. Harris's comments on our students being trained in Cuba and the references to President Fidel Castro? And my answer, caller, is that, you see, John L. Powell was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. Maybe not one, but maybe two. And let me make it clear, I have not in any way taken issue with anyone who is born with a golden spoon in his mouth. But I take issue with John L. for thinking that what Harris said was trivia and a smokescreen, because he really doesn't understand what it means for poor people to wait and worry and lament for the opportunity to go off to university to study. I don't think he will ever appreciate that, because, you see, his background is different. And again, I am not going to in any way take issue with people who have a particular background. But his background is different. And so it is easy, of course, for him and his family to find hundreds of thousands of dollars to send him off to university. What about those poor people who don't have that privilege? What about those poor people who were not born with any spoon at all in their mouth, much less a golden spoon. That's why I take issue with John L. Powell for the statement that he made last week in trying to disaway the statement and references made by Dr. Harris. Because John L. needs to understand that if Cuba was not there, scores of young people who today are serving the interest of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, they would not have had the opportunity. Cuba opened up a door. Cuba opened up a door for the children of poor people and the children of rich people. The children who come from a PAM background and those who come from a labor or no background at all politically. And that is why Harris is being condemned. Condemned not only here in St. Kitts and Nevis, but throughout the progressive world, throughout the entire Caribbean region. Because leaders are asking me if this is the same person who was a foreign minister and who was a minister of education here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So when John L. Powell is going to say that what the people's reaction to Timothy's statement is just but a smokescreen, he's wrong. This is not a smokescreen. This is the cry of a people who believe that if Timothy Harris and the likes of John L. Powell will get into office, the children of poor people will have no opportunity to go on to advance themselves to a tertiary level education that is being provided by the Republic of Cuba. And it is very critically important that the children of poor people and the poor people themselves are not only children of poor people, but the citizens of our country. Because Cuba has opened its hearts not only for poor people, but for rich people. This government has facilitated that particular progressive policy of the federal government, of the government of Cuba, because we believe to a large extent that people, whether you are PAM, Labour, CCM or NRP, whether you are rich or poor or in between, you must have opportunities to go off to improve your own selves and thus come back to improve your country. It is on that basis that people are reacting to the reactionary statement of Harris. And I am disappointed, I must say, in John L. Powell to be siding with Timothy Harris in denigrating and treating with disdain and disrespect Fidel Castro and what he stood for, and now his brother Raul Castro, treating with disrespect and making all kind of negative and ridiculous insinuations about Fidel Castro and how the people of Cuba live. I take strong offense, and I am disappointed in John L. Powell to join with Timothy Harris, who is being condemned the world over, especially here in St. Kitts and Nevis, where John L. Powell is now siding with Timothy Harris and saying that people's reaction is trivia and a smokescreen. John L. Powell, the people's reaction is no smokescreen. People are serious with the comments that they are making because they see the opportunity of their children being deprived of a tertiary level education in Cuba if you and Timothy Harris ever get into power here in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's why people don't treat it as any smokescreen. Let's move on.
As we take one more call on today's edition of Ask the Prime Minister, good morning. Ask the PM.
Good morning, Mr. PM.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, GQ. Carl Brown here. Mr. PM, I would like to get an update from you on the Christoph Harbour project and on Kitts-Nevis Hill. One of the complaints coming out of Kitts-Nevis Hill, although there so many nice buildings and things up there, lots of the workers are complaining of finding it hard of getting pay when pay time, and lots of them claim that they have left the project because pay time is hard to come by. Every time pay time they are short paid, and at times they get agitated and almost into fight, so they left. The other point I would like you to give us an update. I see in the St. Peter's area the field being fenced with wall, and in the Gillard Meadows area the roads, they are getting the roads. And one other thing, Mr. PM, we have looked and listened to the stay-over visitors, and we have heard and seen that the stay-over visitors is down. Well, we also hear that the Parliament would be looking at the rights of gays and lesbians. Well, one of the things, me and you have had this discussion already. I have proposed to you that for stay-over visitors and for nationals and otherwise, we look at adult entertainment in the terms of what we call escort services, peep shows, and we locally call whore houses. I would like to hear your comments on that, because many of the visitors come here, Mr. PM, when you interact with them, they ask you on a daily and a nightly basis where they could go and get some adult entertainment. And we are ashamed to say at times we don't have any place. And not only that, we have lots of illegal happenings here in that field. Everybody else is making some money out of it except the government. Gone, so.
I want to thank our last caller, and maybe I should start from the bottom up with regard to his questions pertaining to the absence or presence of what he described as adult entertainment services, and which he also described as escort services. And he also made a statement that he understands that our Parliament will be debating, or well, to be using his words, Parliament will be looking at the rights of gays and lesbians. And I will start from there first. Nothing pertaining to the rights of gays and lesbians has been brought before our Parliament. I do not know of if the opposition members, who can always bring matters of that kind, and any kind, I should say, as private bills. I don't know if they are contemplating that, but nothing has come to the Cabinet at this moment pertaining to the Parliament looking at rights and gays and lesbians. I did respond to a question, and I said that the time must come, and in fact the time is now, for us to begin to discuss these matters in the general public before, of course, one can even think of bringing them to our Parliament. I believe eventually sometime, once they have been appropriately and fully discussed and debated in our society at various levels among the stakeholders, that eventually, I believe, if the time then becomes necessary after discussions and there's a call from the general public for these matters to be brought to the Parliament, then of course I believe that the Parliament would have the opportunity. It would be very good, in fact, to have the Youth Parliamentary Group begin the debate on some of these critical issues so that it can assist in the general education of our country on issues of gays and lesbians and same-sex marriage, etc., etc., etc. because we are a modern society and we are educated people, and we should be able to discuss these matters in an open, frank, honest way, rather than shying away from issues of the day. The presence of adult entertainment services, this is a matter that that has been in discussion for some time. The caller is right in that sometimes references are made by visiting tourists as to where one can find such services, because they see them as part of adult entertainment, as he says. We do not have this at the moment in our country. We've had several requests by developers and investors to provide such services, local people as well as overseas investors. And this is a matter, I believe, that is being treated very, very cautiously. But as I said before, it has to be debated. It has to be discussed. It has to come to the public's attention. And we need to discuss it. And so, although the government has no intention to change what the existing law is, if the government, however, is impacted by the public outcry and a call for these things to take place, then of course we will have them discussed and debated. And again, we will say that if this were to be the case, then we will make sure that appropriate legislation and controls are in place. These are not matters that you just simply get up one morning and introduce. These are matters that whenever they are introduced in countries, it would have come after a long public debate and discussion. I believe that these are some of the services that can go with tourism, but also there are services that don't have to go with tourism. In other words, tourism can do without, or tourism can do with them. So let us be mature people. This is a progressive country, led by a progressive prime minister and a progressive government. And our people are highly educated, and we must be able to openly discuss these matters without having to point any fingers or people getting enraged and people condemning and say, oh boy, this government going to go to hell because it's discussing the issues of their rights and so forth. Nonsense. These are matters for us to discuss. We are living in a democratic society, and when people make their views known on any matter, and these are views that impact us in a very positive way, then of course the government of the day must respond appropriately. So I want to say to the caller, I am not one of those at the moment who have been burdened with demands for these adult entertainment services. I believe that there are other critical issues that we have to ponder upon right now. For example, making sure that each of us has electricity. These are some of the issues. Making sure that our people have jobs. Making sure that our people have the opportunities to be educated. These are some of the proper social issues that need to come to the fore for discussion. Making sure that our people have the right to get their homes and to be properly sheltered and to have access to health care. These are some of the critical issues. And I always, again, refer back to the HIV/AIDS pandemic, and for my own leading role in this area. Again, I say, the continuing criminalization of some of those social activities tend to drive people involved on the ground. And so we can have a greater spread of the virus if people who may have a tendency, or who are at risk, I should say, to get the virus, are afraid to become tested because they are discriminated, they are going to be stigmatized, and they are going to be put in groups where they are being laughed at and stigmatized and so forth. I believe, therefore, that something needs to be done about discussing these matters with regard to people's human rights and people's rights to determine their own sexual preferences and sexual orientation. These are issues of human rights that need to be discussed now. It does not reflect on my own personal opinion on gays and lesbians and homosexuals, but as the leader of this country, I am saying, and from my understanding of these issues and the interrelationship between HIV/AIDS, the spread of the virus, homosexuality, men having sex with men, gays, lesbians, or as the case may be, commercial sex workers. These are interwoven issues that impact on human rights and impact on disease spread. And so I, as a particular trained human being, also must make sure that I can lead the discussion on these critical issues, which I am prepared to do at any time. Now, Petition Hill and Christopher Harbour projects. What is happening in Christopher Harbour is that Christopher Harbour is really advancing in the way that we anticipated. When the SIDF, for example, got involved in a major investment in the Christopher Harbour project, it did so with the very strong understanding and belief that it was investing good money in a good project to make more money for the foundation, and which, of course, can impact positively on the lives of the people of St. Kitts-Nevis. And so Christopher Harbour, in fact, this afternoon, Christopher Harbour is going to be breaking ground for another of the projects as part of the Christopher Harbour development. You would remember that the Park Hyatt Hotel is to be built there as well. Since the groundbreaking of the Park Hyatt, a number of other activities have been associated, and I believe very shortly they are going to be starting construction. Another development, however, I think is a condo villa or high-end home development, will take place over there. And this afternoon, this evening, I should become involved in that ceremony, which will see the groundbreaking and yet another project on the Christopher Harbour set of projects will take place. I want to say that if there are issues at Petition Hill with regard to people's pay package and people not being paid on time, they should go to the Labour Department. And the owners of the project, the developers, if what the caller is saying is true, they must pay their people on time. People have a right to be paid on time after they have worked. And they have a right to be properly paid. And if they are not being properly paid, then they should go to see the Labour Department or go to a lawyer and pursue your rights as workers on a project in this country. I have no compromise on matters like those. People who work should be paid. And so they should seek their rights from the developers and investors in this particular project. If what the caller said is correct. It may not be correct, but I'm saying if what he said is correct, fine. The colliery, the St. Peter's playing field, now being fenced by a wall fence, of course. The fence fell down some time ago with heavy rains. We said it will be rebuilt. It is not being rebuilt. Okay, let's move on.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. That was our last call.
Right. I want to thank our callers for today. As I said, one wanted to dedicate, in particular, this as one to give thanks with the Prime Minister, because God has been such a blessing to us and to this country, considering where we have come from, considering where we were in 2008, 2009, when being impacted by the global economic and financial crisis, God has been good to us. I want to again emphasize that we are living in a world overlooked by a real living God. People of St. Kitts-Nevis, please let us give thanks to God for the blessings that we have. Others are not so blessed as we are. Let us give God thanks for all that he has provided us. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of another edition of Ask the Prime Minister. Once again, we thank listeners to Choice FM, ZIZ Radio, Kiss FM, and Freedom FM, as we invite you to join us next Tuesday at the same time for another edition of Ask the Prime Minister.